Welcome, ladies and gents. Chris Andre here. You can find me at BetBoxing on Twitter for boxing related tweets, or you can subscribe to the channel, click that notifications button and get a new notification whenever a new video is uploaded. Please also, if you do like the video, click that like button. The more people that share the videos, the more people that like them, the more likely we are to get the channel to grow. Let's talk about Anthony Joshua. He's given a fantastic interview with JD Sports, which is definitely worth a watch. I'm going to put the link in the description box of this video. He gives a round-by-round breakdown from his perspective of the performance against Kubrat Pulev. And it pretty much mirrors exactly my interpretation of how the fight went post-fight. My post-fight review pretty much mirrors how he sees the fight. Now, I'm going to also put that video in the description box of this video too, in case you guys want to go back and have a little refresher. However, there is a disclaimer to all this, okay? I accept the fact that many people whose opinions I respect greatly strongly disagreed with me. Hatman disagreed with me. Joe Joyce, you know, people whose knowledge is internationally renowned. Joe Joyce, Peter Fury, Ben Davison to an extent disagreed with me. To some extent he agreed. Who else thought he was tentative? I believe Joe Joyce. These people felt that he was tentative. That the old Anthony Joshua pre the first Ruiz fight would have put Pulev away earlier. He would have been a lot more ruthless. Well, obviously, if that is true, Anthony Joshua is not going to come out there and start talking about, listen, I was tentative, I was afraid to put my foot on the gas, there's still demons there, and so on and so forth. So that's a disclaimer, right? I've got to put my hands up to that and say that's a distinct possibility. However, and listen, I'm the sort of person where I can admit I'm wrong, and even if I'm not wrong per se, sometimes I can just change my mind. I can analyze something, see it from a different perspective and change my mind. Well, in this particular case, I do think I'm still going to stand by my guns. I do sort of agree with what Anthony Joshua has been saying on the most part, right? For the most part. So basically, he talks about how initially it was a feeling out period. He started to let his hands go a little bit more in round 2. By round 3, he hurt Pulev. And he tried to get him out of there. But when he saw that he was going to survive the end of the round, and round 4 started, he said, look, I could analyze him. I could see his body language. I could see he wasn't ready to go. He was still fresh. So rather than just go in there and think, you know what, I'm going to go and put my foot on the gas and take this guy out, I went back to the mentality of round 1, where it became a feeling out process, and I'm waiting to land that one big significant shot. I'm looking to set up that significant shot so that when I get him reeling again, that's when I can put my foot on the gas to try and take him out. Instead of just putting my foot on the gas consistently and, you know, punching myself out potentially. He said he learnt this not from the first Ruiz fight, but from the Klitschko fight. He spoke about how he wanted to bring certain elements of what welterweights do to the heavyweight division. And this is why you saw these new elements to his game, the movement, the pivoting out, little things that are new, different to AJ. He also spoke about how he only gave himself a 4 out of 10 for the performance. But he said that he accepted that it was a flawless performance. So there was a bit of a contradiction in terms there. But he also explained how he had to be adaptable. He said he couldn't find the 1-2. Pulev was largely taking away the 1-2. So he had to bring in the uppercut because the straight right hand wasn't finding success. And I found that really interesting because to me, that's exactly what I was talking about post-fight when I said he showed the ability to adapt. There was an adaptability there. There were times where he was willing to be patient. I explained that in the post-fight review as well. And as you could see, when he didn't get him out there in the first 3 rounds, in the 4th round, he said, right, I went back to the mindset of round 1. Patience. We start again. He's still fresh. I've gotten the better of him in the first 3 rounds. He's not ready to go. It's time to find the right shot. And when we find the right shot, that's when we put our foot on the gas. And when he was talking about it only being a 4 out of 10, he was saying that, you know, that might not work in future against a future opponent. Well, clearly he's talking about Tyson Fury, and he's asked about that. And he explains that Tyson Fury's he's a flashy guy and he enjoys the fun aspects of it, but it's down to him to close the show, as in AJ, so that he sees Tyson Fury as a warm-up act to the main show. Now, all that's just talk and bravado, obviously, but he's saying the right things, that he wants to continuously improve. But for me, what I took away from that was the patience and the adaptability. Now, in terms of his performance, you could see that there was a lot of upper body movement. Pulev himself struggled to land the 1-2. And one of the reasons he struggled to land the 1-2 is when behind that jab, when he tried to follow it up with the right hand, you could see AJ would dip to the side, okay? He'd dip his head all the way to the side, low. And he'd get out of the way of it. With someone like Tyson Fury, I've said this before, he throws his right hand, at least against Deontay Wilder, when he's looking to load up on that right hand. He doesn't always throw it technically correctly. In fact, he throws it technically incorrectly. And in many regards, it's an underdeveloped right hand. But like I've said with Deontay Wilder in the past, sometimes when a shot is almost chaotic, it can cause the opponent problems, especially when he's a very technical, by the textbook, orthodox type fighter like AJ. He throws his right hand, or at least he did against Wilder, almost like a bowl from Muralitharan, the cricketer, for those of you that are cricket fans. His arm's almost like a straight arm, and it comes over and around. So with that trajectory, it's like almost like a clubbing caveman shot. With that trajectory, if you're dipping to the side there, that's going to catch you on the side of the head. So there's going to be certain movements he's going to have to adapt. You know, he might want to come underneath that shot if it comes over like that. Come underneath that shot, come up with a left hook, come underneath and throw a right hand down the pipe. Do any of these things, but he's going to want to roll under it rather than dip away from the shot and try and get behind his own shoulder. He might want to look to come under that shot. There are various things he's going to have to adapt. There are things that Tyson Fury is going to have to adapt. We'll get into a more detailed technical breakdown if the fight is announced and, you know, they actually sign the contract. Don't know what's holding them up. I've got a theory at the moment. Tyson Fury knows that he needs a tune-up fight. I know that he's not ready to fight. It makes no sense. He's been out for far too long. If I was his manager, I would not be telling him to take this fight next. And let people talk. Let people say he's ducking, whatever. It doesn't matter. Take that. If you win the fight, you'll win those people over. But you have to have a tune-up fight, a warm-up fight. You can't take that amount of period out of the ring, that amount of time out of the ring, that period out of the ring, and then get in the biggest fight of your life. I don't think you can do that. But whatever the case may be, there's a delay, okay? Whatever the reason, there's a delay. Now, if that fight happens and it's announced, we'll do a more technical breakdown. But going back to Anthony Joshua, the point is that I saw a level of adaptability, things that I saw him do that I had not seen before. And this interview, in a way, reinforces the areas that he started to think of those things, according to what he says, are the same sort of periods of time and the same sort of areas where I was thinking, okay, he's doing this now, he's doing that now. This is where he's adapting. This is where he's taking his time and being patient. So it's reinforced the fact for me that it was a very impressive display. He showed a great inside game as well, and they touch on that. And that's the one element which has really, really improved with Anthony Joshua. He's never not been a good inside fighter, but the head control really impressed me. And you could see that. And he was talking about, you know, a lot of people are saying how, you know, you should box at range. Nah, man, this is a fight. I want to win the fight. So clearly he likes the idea of putting the hurt on people, and he's found a new way of developing that on the inside as well. So let me know what you think of this interview. Do you see it as an open and honest interview? Or do you see it as him trying to gloss over cracks that are there? Maybe you've changed your mind. Maybe initially you heard my post-fight review and you agreed with me. And now since then, maybe you've rewatched the fight and you've changed your mind. And you actually think, you know what? I don't think it was a flawless performance. I do think there were demons there. I do think there were problems there. And I do think they're going to be carried over into the fight with Tyson Fury. Or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe you think that, you know, initially you thought it was a terrible performance or, you know, tentative or whatever. Then you've rewatched the fight and you thought, actually, Chris, you know what? I agree with you. Let me know where you stand on that. You know, Fight Film, for instance, a channel that you can find here on YouTube. Me and Fight Film have argued a million times, right? We argue all the time. Well, not argue. We don't argue. We disagree a lot. Okay, we have done a million times over boxing. But listen, he's a very intelligent guy, clearly. But we obviously have very different views on boxing. And there have been times when he's really convinced me and changed my mind on things. And this was one occasion where, based on one of his videos that he put out, I seem to have changed his mind. Initially, he said that when he first saw the fight, he thought, what is this guy, Chris Andre, talking about? He couldn't even watch the full review, my full video, he said, because he just thought I was talking rubbish. And then when he went back and watched the fight, he actually said, actually, I thought Chris was right after that. I liked some of the things AJ was doing. And listen, that shows, that's a sign of a critical thinker. That's a sign of somebody who, even when you disagree with somebody, even when you, you know, for instance, we strongly disagree on Billy Joe Saunders. I think Billy's a very, very talented fighter. He thinks Billy Joe's just complete garbage. So even when you disagree with someone about something, it takes a critical thinker to be able to analyze something and change your mind. And I like to think that I'm that sort of person too. So, and I've done it many times before. So there's no shame in changing your mind. Maybe you disagreed with me initially, you agree with me now. Maybe you agreed with me initially. And you might have even paid a compliment and said, great breakdown, I really agree. And since then, you've changed your mind. There's no hard feelings. Come back and tell me, actually, Chris, I think you got that wrong because of this, this, and that. Watch this interview. Tell me what your take is on it. I'm really interested to know what people are starting to think in terms of forming opinions about this AJ Fury fight. Not so much, oh yeah, I think AJ's going to win, or yeah, I think Fury's going to win. Everyone's going to always have those opinions. We'll get to those in future videos. But more like, what do you make of AJ's explanation and breakdown of how he saw the fight? Is he being honest? Are you encouraged by the things you heard him say? You know, maybe you thought it was tentative and you heard him say certain things and you've changed your mind. You know, let me know what you think of the interview. Thanks for watching, everyone. Chat to you soon. Take care. God bless.